I saw a post that said all of George Russell's wins have been overshadowed, so I did the research so you don't have to. So George Russell has 5 Formula 1 wins, and his maiden win was in Brazil 2022, but this was overshadowed by Red Bull team orders and their drivers Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. So at this point, Max had already won the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship had been won too, and the entire focus was on Checo getting that P2 because Red Bull had never secured a 1-2 in the Drivers' Championship before this. With a few laps to go, Checo was struggling on the medium, so he was asked to let Max by so he could try and get Fernando in front. The idea being that if he couldn't, then they would just swap back. And then on the final lap, Max was asked to give the position back, and he ignored these orders. He was asked again, and he just simply replied on the radio, "I told you already last summer, you guys don't ask that again to me, okay? Are we clear about that? I gave my reasons and I stand by it." The reasons being, or the speculation being, that Max was very unhappy with what had happened at the Monaco Grand Prix earlier that year and qualifying. So with very little time on the clock, Checo did crash, which did stop the session. Max was on a flying lap and he couldn't finish his lap, and he ended up being behind Checo, but there was the conspiracy that Checo crashed deliberately. After that, Checo said about Max that it shows who he really is, because in his mind he's thinking Max has already won the championship, he could have just swapped. But anyway, that kind of overshadowed George Russell's first win in Formula 1. The second win for George, Austria 2024. So Max and Lando are fighting for the lead. Lando is making many attempts, all of which are unsuccessful, but then on lap 64, the duel culminated in an incident. Both got punctures. Lando had to retire from the race. Max finished in P5 eventually and got a 10-second penalty, to which he called ridiculous, and GP coming on the radio to say that Lando didn't behave correctly. Because of that incident, George did win, but leading up to that, it was just very messy between Lando and Max, both coming on the radio to basically complain about each other. George's third win, Las Vegas 2024, where Max Verstappen clinched his 4th consecutive driver's title, which fair. The 4th win, Canada 2025. This win was overshadowed by Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri colliding, and it was a big talking point because it was the first time in the championship battle where both drivers did collide, and there was no real snarkiness from either driver. Lando made a move which he shouldn't have done, but he did apologize immediately. The 5th and latest win from George, Singapore 2025, which was overshadowed by 2 main talking points. The first being that McLaren did win the Constructors' Championship, but the second being Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri's touch at the start of the race, where in his attempt to overtake, Lando did touch Oscar, and Oscar was very unhappy about it, indirectly asking for the swap back. So he said, "So are we cool with Lando just barging me out of the way?" Or, despite George's dominant win, the main conversation has been about McLaren, team orders, and how they've managed their driver dynamic. But to George, it doesn't really matter because, as we say, a win is a win.